Hello, this is Taylor Lindsay for Wilmington University screencast of EDT 6005. This is my screencast of my interactive whiteboard activity. This is completed on ClassFlow, which is an app that is used as the interactive whiteboard app for Promethean boards. I'm doing this right now on one of the Surface Pros and then also directing it rather than up front with my whiteboard with a Chromebook via Google Chrome. With this, you can have student-directed activities as a web quest and also a teacher-directed activity within the Google Classroom or up with the Promethean board. So we're going to see that the first thing that we would do is we would have our headlines, okay? And I would just talk to the students and I would say, like, these are two headlines. Look at those for a hot second, and then boom. Question set comes up right on their screen. Which headline would you believe more? Search for missing bride continues, or bride missing, groom's family blames mental illness. How do they differ? The second headline offers more details. Boom. Consider the wording. How would they respond? They might assume that the bride is crazy. Oops. Got a typo. Bride is crazy rather than just leaving the husband. Or groom at this point, not the husband. Sorry, buddy. You hit submit, boom, assessment done. I'm able to see those as my pre-assessment for students as how we can consider different headlines and what's going on. It returns you back to this screen, and what we would do is we talk about our central historical question of who sank the Maine, and we would know that from the unit, we were right at the time of American imperialism and the Spanish-American War. That's what we're going to talk about today. Our social studies standards, culture, time, continuity, change, science, technology, and society, we would go through to understand that we're looking at differences in opinions, especially via headlines from our warm-up, and how ideas have changed over time for why people have started wars, why we have changed these wars, and what we can do differently. So the first thing that we would talk about is we would just get set up with any sort of idea, prior knowledge, facts that would lead up to the Spanish-American War, so students can take these notes, they can write on them, they can highlight on them, excuse me. So then we start to see where there's a war with Spain. And the Cubans actually start the Spanish-American War. The Americans decide to side with the Cubans because of the concentration camps and investments in sugar plantations, mines, and railroads. And America cannot lose their money and everything that's going on there. So then we talk about the USS Maine. It's a ship that was blown up in the Havana Harbor. We lose 260 people, and everybody in the American side assumes that the Spanish sink the ship, which is an inaccurate report, stated a submarine mine caused the explosion, and war hysteria sweeps the nation. We do not like to be attacked, so it is time to go to war. Now, in this point in time, we can have part of our interactive feature that also shows up where students can scan the picture to see what picture was published in the American rendition of the explosion of the Maine. It was given, and facts were saying that it was exploded, then this painting comes out. We see bodies flying everywhere, explosions, smoke, the bow of the ship, smokestacks. You can expand this to go larger, but for this sake, I mean, why give away the whole picture? I don't tell students that sometimes, but you don't want to make it too finite too, that you would say, our question set, what kind of components did you see? Bodies, ship, explosion, etc., etc., etc. Submit, then whole picture, what do you think? Wow, this is a massive explosion. I would be upset because the picture alludes to the fact that someone blew up our ship. Okay, and this is how Americans at that point in time perceive this. Now with the assessments, I can pause them. I can start to look at student answers. So if I wanted to go through with my warm-up, I can do that. I can also understand that you know, you can hide names, so if students are there and they don't want to. But so there's a poem that's published, and then shortly thereafter we declare war. But I mean, you're talking a very short amount of time where this poem goes. And so one of the best things that you can do with this app is you can also embed videos, and you click on the link below. Sometimes the videos do get embedded behind for some reason, and they move around. So I've tried to anchor them a few times, but they end up moving behind everything anyways. So you open it up, it takes you to YouTube. So you can see a little silly song. You can also see my very strange playlist off to the side. But students can move this around. They can put their own notes in. And the song explains, it was a project that I saw that was completed by other history students, which I think is always great to see what other kids are doing out there. But they just explain what happened and what sets up for the U.S. BAME and gives kids a little bit of more background knowledge. We continue through. We give a little bit of explanation. War is declared. We talk about how the war only lasted 4 months. You know, more people died of disease. And if you do this in the Google Suite, you can also have these posted as notes, and students can click the Explore button. Students can click the Define button, so you can look like all within the Google program to see just what's going on with these apps, or words, or ideas. Interactive maps are always fun, and you can talk about what's going on. So you show the map, you show the Cuban blockade, you show us attacking the Spanish fleet at the Philippines and Manila, Guam on the backside, the Battle of San Juan. So then with that map, if you were to do an explanation just to get some ideas of what's going on and to make sure our geography is there, you go 1, 2, 3. You can either do matching, you can do answers, you can do type, you can do guesstimates, you can start up. So right here, if I don't put like Cuban blockade, it doesn't pop up at first, but then I like to collaborate with students and just talk about the maps, because obviously this is American studies too, not Cuban studies. And you might say San Juan and then Manila, and we can go through, show the responses up on the board, assessments ended, and show which ones are correct, which ones not, go with our prior knowledge. Each time it does go to these nice little background info when you're waiting to share the screen. We talk about how Teddy Roosevelt rides in, causes an armistice. We then recognize Spain gains independence of Cuba, or vice versa, seceded Puerto Rico and Guam to the U.S. and accept American occupation of Manila. And that leads us into our next unit of the Philippine-American War. So we get brought back to our central historical question of who sank the Maine? Who sank the Maine? The first thing that students are going to see is we have 2 documents, one of which is document A, followed by document B, both written on the same day, published on the same day. And the best thing is that Stanford Historical Educational Group has already provided modified versions of the primary sources, so they're shortened, they're easier to see. You get the question set, 1, 2, 3 questions. You can get the prompt over here. You can do individual questions, but that just requires more and more assessment tabs. So I would just do like a 1, it was written the day after, 2, Spanish, etc., etc., etc. What kind of evidence does it use? None. Now, I always tell students, please answer in complete sentences. We type out our answer, submit. Exit the assessment. Now for students, I could make this so you could spend as much time as you wanted to. I could time it. We go to document B. We start to consider what's going on here. You can read through the article first. I always do that with kids, and you can highlight it. If I wanted to, I could do a quick poll as we are doing everything, and you could do the creative aspect onto it. So then you're going to see with student activity, you could say like, okay, I want the highlighter, and I want to do it in green. Okay, so then we're going to pop over here, and I'd be like, oh man, the highlighter, what do I want to highlight? Oh, okay, I was clicking and dragging. There's the date. Okay, that's the same exact date. Okay, this one says the Maine's Hall will decide. Oh, they're both written in New York. And then I, as a teacher, can see up on my board what's going on, and we can do this as a class, as a quick poll. From there, let's get back to that. Sorry. We would just start the question set, and students would do the exact same thing. You know, they'd look at the passage. Okay, let's answer our questions. You know, question just to move forward, and you hit submit. All right. So the next aspect that we would see would be our fun flash function. Okay, fun flash function. You can say that 10 times fast. All right, and students are able to work through this. And first off, we have matching with the spindles here. So if I put a date here, oh no, it's the same date though. So you can put it here. You can have correct answers even though they're similar or not. And each time you look through, you would see the little red tab that pops up. So even if students don't read it, you can start to see how many times they guessed. So if they just kept guessing and guessing to get the right answer to finish, or if they actually read it, you can see how many incorrect responses. If you allow for them to do it multiple times, which I have, you would see that they would get it right on so many, but for the first time, we'll just go from here, okay? We match it up, and normally you would just go across the board, but since I already know all the answers, we're just gonna get through here as quickly as we can, and you can see the nice little thing, everything matches up, well done. Do you wanna play again? You can do it, you don't have to. All right, and as a wrap up to the activity, I would do the same thing that I just did with the quick poll, wherein I can do a true false of one of these things. I could do multiple choice, I could scale, I could do a word seed. So if I just wanted to do a text, okay, and you could say, how long after the explosion of the Maine was it written? And then everybody would be like, it was the day after, like, woo, yay, and you would hit submit. And then we can do that. We could go after class, we could see what's going on, and then you can hit stop. All right, if you wanted to, and you wanted to go back to the slide, sorry, and we go back, and you'd say, like, what does the headline suggest? Is the headline true? And if you did, the headline is true because it says that there's no other facts contrary, you would say it's false. And we do a quick poll of the class and go from there. Okay. And within our wrap-up activities, we would do the same thing for the others, the last slide here, and then we would finish up one last time with our central historical question of who sank the Maine. And I might do a quick response of a word seed, or I could put up on the board and write on it, like, was it the Spanish? And students could say yes. Was it the Americans? The students could say no. Are you still unsure? And then I could go into that for the next course. Okay, that is it for me and my awesome interactive whiteboard presentation. Hopefully you enjoyed, or even maybe just learned who sank the Maine, depending on your prior knowledge of the Spanish-American War. Please let me know if you have any more questions, and thank you.